Okay guys, so this is my mini album finished. I'm just going to walk through and show you this one. It's just the same as my Halloween album, but just different paper. And I used that paper pad from Michaels on this one. And I'll try to link as much as I can link in the description box for you guys. The tutorial will start following this little clip. And I do want to say I did split the video in two parts because it ended up being longer than I thought. So I believe this portion will be maybe a little over 40 minutes. And then the second portion may be the same or a little bit more. It's a simple album to make. I just took my time and I kind of talked while I was doing it, which you'll see right after I share with you. So this is how I decorated mine. And this is just a little brag book. I really love the papers from that collection. Same 4 signatures from the Halloween book. Just wanted to show y'all really quick before we got into making this, the finished product on this one. So I made some little booklets. This was from one of the cut aparts in the paper collection. This is a booklet. I left this side open in case I want to put a journaling page on that side, but I will be putting a photo on this side. I made some little tags. And so those paper pads from the Hot Buy lines, they usually don't come with anything except maybe two pages of cut aparts usually. And so I just used one of my dies and made some little tags. I put one of the labels that I get from Dollar Tree on, and this is where I'll do a little writing. I also put some of the paper from the collection on the back of the tag. And I'll do journaling on this side. I like those little labels. I use them for when I'm writing letters. But yeah, I can use my little fine point marker and journal. So those are in the front pocket. And then also a photo mat here. So those just stick there. And each signature has a pull out. That's room for 2 more 4x6. So this is that trifold fold out, so enough room for 3 more 4x6 photos, and that's exactly how I'm going to put them in there. And I could easily probably get about 45 to 50 pictures without it being too bulky. I did count, just counting without even thinking about filling up the pockets gave me about 35. Okay, so I did add these little decorative corners, and if I wanted to stick a photo in there I could, and also I could glue a photo down right here. So I just thought that made a pretty little element on there. And this opens up. Here's room for a photo over here. This pulls out, which pulls out to another little booklet. This was one of the cut aparts. Some pattern paper on the back. This is that side pocket, so it just slides right back in there. That closes. This one opens up. 2 more photos there. Another pull out. Here's 2 more spaces here for photos. Here's that pocket, that deep pocket. You can put a photo on here. And it opens up. There's a photo place, and here's a photo place. I added a photo mat in here. Just some, just matted some paper from the collection. And I love how all the papers are different. Turn that over, and these are those twin pages, 6 and 7. So that's 4 more spots there for your photos. And on this last page was that belly band page. I just made another booklet. I left this open for journaling. And that just slides right under there. And in this back pocket, here's another one of those cute little tags, and a photo mat, which I can add a few more of those photo mats in there. And that's the back. So that is how mine turned out. Now stay tuned for the tutorial. Again, I want to always thank you guys for sticking in there, especially with these longer videos, and subscribing to my channel, leaving me comments. I really appreciate it. Let's get to the tutorial. To make this mini album, you'll need some chipboard, and I am using super lightweight chipboard. It's about the same consistency as a cereal box. So if you don't have any chipboard on hand, you can definitely grab a cereal box, cut it down. Just be careful, cut it down to the measurements, and it'll make a mini album. Okay, you'll also need some 65-pound weight cardstock. You'll need 110-pound weight cardstock. Optional designer paper of your choice. I like to use my T-square ruler. I like to use some scissors here. That's what you will need. My bone folder here. Just this tool that I got from by We Are Memory Keepers that I help to burnish down my papers. I like to use this We Are Memory Keepers pick tool. I like to use double-sided tape adhesive and also liquid glue adhesive. And I'm going to be using my art glitter glue for this one. Let's see. Optional magnets, and I get my magnets from Amazon, and these are those small strong magnets that I shared with you guys in a previous video. I also, what else? And if you don't have magnets, you can definitely use Velcro, or you can figure other ways to make closures like ribbon, other ways to make closures in your books. It's not necessary, but it definitely helps to have some magnets. I just made this little 1/8 of an inch spacing template out of some leftover pieces of chipboard that I had. I just glued 2 pieces together, and this helps out with spacing. I use this sometimes and sometimes I don't. Most times I just kind of eyeball it, but this is good to make a template. Also, I have pre-cut some the paper already, and I'll go over that with you guys. I also use my paper cutter, and this is a Guillotine paper cutter. You can buy this most places. Hobby Lobby has these, Amazon has these, and Walmart has them as well. You'll pay probably around the $25 to $30 price range for one of these, and these are good because they're self-sharpening and they cut through my medium weight chipboard with no problem. So, and then also you'll need a scoreboard. So you don't have to have a Guillotine paper cutter. Any paper trimmer will help, especially if you're just using lightweight chipboard like I am today. Alright, so I'm going to move this stuff out the way and we'll go ahead and get started. And for my book, for this one, I'm going to be using the Modern Farmhouse Recollections paper pad to decorate the inside of mine. So that is optional. You can decorate that book however you want. So I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way, and we'll get started making the base of our little mini album. So for that, you will need to cut 2 pieces of your chipboard for your inside front and back cover, and also for your spine you'll need the 1 piece. And for the covers, you should cut them at 5.5 by 7.5, and you'll need 2 of those. And then for the spine, 2.5 by 7.5. Okay, to cover these pieces, you will need 2 pieces of 65-pound weight cardstock, and I am going to be constructing this with black cardstock. So to do this, I like to, you can use liquid glue for this. You don't have to use double-sided tape, but I just like to use some double-sided tape. And this is 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to connect 2 sheets, and these are 8.5 by 11. So I'm just going to connect 2 sheets together, and this will make the cover for my chipboard pieces. So you'll start at the top, and I know it's kind of maybe kind of hard because my cutting mat is black, and so you'll just apply just a strip of your double-sided adhesive or just a line of liquid glue right down there like that, and we're just gonna join them together. Okay, so I'm just going to take my pick tool, and hopefully you can see I'm working on my desk, so it's not a big space. So for this, I just like to pull up just a tiny corner of that double-sided adhesive backing, pull it back. Let me see. Pull it back, and then I start to line the pages up right at the bottom here. Once they're lined up, I just go ahead and stick down that small little piece from the backing that we pulled off, and then the tab, you just pull that down and then just burnish it down. Okay, just like that. And if you're worried about making your spacing perfect, you could definitely use your ruler. I usually use my T-square ruler to put down just to make sure I have good spacing around my chipboard pieces. So for these chipboard pieces, you want to go ahead and cover them with either your liquid glue or your double-sided adhesive. On one side, you want to go ahead and add your adhesive. And I tend to go overboard when I'm applying my adhesive, because I like for my little mini albums to last. And with this being really lightweight chipboard, I'm just going to try to make sure I can reinforce it as best I can. And I'm using lightweight chipboard for my covers and also for my hinge system. Now, if all you have is 65-pound weight cardstock, you can definitely construct this book with all 65-pound cardstock, especially if you're using lightweight chipboard. There's nothing wrong with it, because as you go in and add your layers and mats and decorative papers, it'll get heavier and a little bit more reinforcement. When I make larger albums and I use heavyweight or medium weight chipboard, I have Tyvek that I ordered off of Amazon, and it is a material that they use in some envelopes that is tear proof. I don't know if you notice sometimes when businesses, when construction companies are working on businesses, they have those businesses covered. The material that they use, they cover them in this material. It's like a white material, and it's called Tyvek, and it's to protect the materials while they're building these businesses. It's the same type of stuff. It's really good to use while you're making your covers to reinforce so that your book doesn't fall apart. So I use that when I'm making like heavyweight mini albums, and with a lot of signatures, like 4 to 6 signatures on the larger mini albums. And it works really well, and you don't need a whole lot of it, and they do sell it in the packs on Amazon. It can be kind of expensive, but I've had 1 pack of the Tyvek for a long time, and it has lasted me. So Okay, so, and I am just adding my adhesive on the side that I wrote on, even though it'll be covered up. Sometimes I add double-sided adhesive and liquid glue just for a little added protection, but for this one I'm not going to do that. And then if you want to preserve on your supplies, you don't really have to do that, but when you're using like this lightweight chipboard and lightweight cardstock, you just be careful, and you won't be able to make your book super heavy with a whole lot of photos when you're using you know, the lightweight. But this is basically just like a little brag book. So I'm just going to use my little burnishing tool and just burnish that down. Alright, so now these pieces right here, I'm going to put down. I like to just kind of put down. So this is the center where those two pieces meet. This is where I want my spine to be. So I'm going to put my spine down first. And you just want to make sure you have at least an inch border going all the way around all three of your pieces to help fold over and cover the book. So I am going to take the backing off and place the spine piece in the middle first. And y'all, this, I always say, because I'm a slow crafter, this is probably gonna be a long video. Even though it's a really simple album to make, it's gonna be long because I'm not going to speed up the motion on the camera, and I'm not going to rush it. And I'm just going to kind of talk through most of it because I haven't done many tutorials, but I know when I'm watching a tutorial, I just like to be able to follow along with no problem. So I am going to use my ruler, and I am going to first make sure my cover is pretty. I'm using my mat to make sure it's just as straight as I can get it. I didn't attach them super straight in the beginning, but so what I am going to do is, let me see if I can pull it up so y'all can see all the way. So my ruler's down here at the bottom of this page right here, and I am going to use my ruler and butt it right up against my little chipboard, just like that. And I'm going to use the same technique when I'm placing these two on the side. Yeah, so I was mentioning to y'all when I shared the mini album with you, how I do like to watch other people when they make those really super interactive albums, but I am a person who I don't really like to cut a lot away from my pictures. So a lot of those little interactive elements, you either have to resize your picture down a lot, or you kind of got to trim it down. So I don't mind trimming my pictures down a little bit, but a lot of those smaller elements I tend not to do. But trust me, I will be making one of those interactive albums as well, because I just like making these little mini albums. Okay, so I got my ruler butted up under my middle piece, and I'm just holding that in place right there. And this is going to be just a quarter, not even a quarter, an eighth. I'm going to place this down to be an eighth of an inch away from the other one, the spine piece. And when you use your ruler to butt it, you get a really good spacing. So just like that. And if you if you know how to do your cover, you don't have to sit and watch through this. You can kind of speed it up and move on to the page constructions. That's perfectly fine. So I don't mind that. So I got up early this morning. I had a history test. I took my history test. Yesterday I turned in my paper. I had to write a paper. And I was trying to make sure I had everything done as far as my homework and the schoolwork by today, which is Sunday, so that I could do a little bit of crafting. And it worked out. So, okay. So, I'm going to do the same thing. I have my ruler butted up. Butted up against my spine piece. And I am going to lay this down with just 1/8 of an inch right there. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Let me just do it like this. Just like that. Lay it down. So now I have my 1 inch down at the bottom. So now all I have to do is trim off about that much around the wrist. So I'm just gonna eyeball it and trim a little bit off this side right here. And I don't really cut even when I'm cutting with my scissors, but it's okay because no one will see that. So I'm just kind of eyeballing just to give myself an inch border. Okay, all the way around. So this is what we have. All right, so what we want to do is we can either add double-sided tape now or go ahead and cut our corners. So and you can use a template if you want, just to get that eighth of an inch right around your corners. You want to keep at least 1/8 of an inch there. But I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to eyeball it. But if you want to be more precise, you want to go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut off a piece just like that. And if you can see, there's a little bit left right around there. So I'm going to do that for each corner. Okay. And now you just want to kind of prepare your paper to fold. And I just like to use my fingers and just work the paper up. And it just kind of breaks down the fibers of the paper so that it folds over easily and you'll have less cracking. And I'm even being a little rough, so just want to barely kind of just work the paper up so that it'll fold with no problems. Okay, next I am going to use double-sided adhesive to add all around on these flaps. And I usually do put extra adhesive going around, so more than just this one piece. But instead of doing that on the paper, I'll do it on the chipboard. And again, I apologize if you can't see everything I'm doing in the camera view. The desk is kind of small. So I'm just going to go around with that. And all we're doing is burnishing the tape down. Okay. So just for a little bit of added, I'm just going to add a strip across my chipboard as well, and I'm hoping I'm not adding too much there. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's perfect. And you're just going just around the perimeter here. On the very corner here. Just make sure you burnish that down really well. Alright. And I'm going to start by folding over my long ends. So I'm just going to remove my double-sided tape covers, backing. Okay. And I'm just going to slowly, again, slowly, just kind of fold it over. I had to get used to using this really thin chipboard, because I've always used the medium weight up until now. So I'm just going to take my burnishing tool that I've been using, and I am pushing the corners of this paper to cover around the edge of my chipboard. And I'm just going to do that on each side, burnishing it down and just pushing that little tip. And yes, this is probably taking a long time when it usually does not have to take this long to cover the chipboard and make the base. But like I said, I'm a slow crafter, and I just kind of like to talk it through. And when doing that, it helps me not forget steps for myself too. So, all right, just like that. And again, I'm just pushing. I'm using this tool. You can use your finger just to push that corner right around, right there. Right there, you just want to push that to cover the corner of your chipboard. Okay, so take this off, and now you can go ahead and fold that over. Okay, we're gonna do the same for this piece here. So I'm just basically making sure my little corner is nice and covered. And I got my coffee over here getting cold. All right. Slowly work it on. Okay. Okay, so we have our cover. So you just want to run our tool right across there where the pieces meet to help this fold up. And you just slowly fold it up. Slowly fold it up. You will have a little bit of resistance at first, but the more you open and close your book, the more loose it will become. So there is our cover. So next, the next thing we want to do is, which I did not do, was measure out a piece to cover this. But I think we're going to go ahead and do our hinge piece first and then measure our two inside cover pieces. Okay, so let's do that. Let's put our cover to the side, the cute little brag book. So for the hinge, you'll need one sheet of 65-pound cardstock, and you'll cut it down to 6 3/4 by 10 1/2. Okay, you'll need to grab your scoreboard, and you're going to place it on the 10 1/2 inch side to do your scoring. And get your scoring tool. Let me get my notes. And for this part, we are going to start by scoring at 1 1/2 first. Okay, and then we're going to score at 2 1/4. Then we're going to score at 3, 3 1/2. Then we're going to score at 4 1/4. Then we're going to score at 5. Then we're going to score at 5 1/2. Then we're going to score at 6 1/4. Then we're going to score at 7. Then we're going to score at 7 1/2. Then we're going to score at 8 1/4. And then we're going to score at 9. So with the scoring, we have the two matching larger areas is where we're going to fold up to create our mountain. And this area is going to be our gusset, which I made a little bit larger than I had before. Okay, and then our gusset, our next hinge, our gusset, hinge, gusset, hinge. So that gives us 4. So, okay, so move this out of the way. And we're going to start by folding those two first. You're going to skip the first score line, and you're going to fold the second one together. And it's going to make your first, I say heel, but the first hinge like that. Okay. You're going to skip this area right here, and you're going to fold the next two together like that. Okay, you're going to skip this one and fold those next two together like that. And I'm sure many of you already know how to make your hinge systems, but this just gives a little bit more space between the signatures than I had in the original book that I shared with you guys. So this is what we should have. Mountain, 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 mountain. The gussets are the valleys. And so this gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is where our signatures are gonna bind to the book. Okay, so you want to turn this over, and you want to go ahead and add your double-sided adhesive or your liquid glue to go ahead and close these up. So I always add my adhesive closest to the score line, okay? But you don't go over the score line. So I'm gonna add a piece right under here, okay? I'm gonna add a piece right here. Okay. And add a piece right here. And you're going to add a piece under the other mountain, let's say. Not to go over the score mark, okay? And burnish those. You want to remove your backings and go ahead and push them together. So the bottom will look like this. And I just like to go over it really good and get it really stuck down. So at this point, if you want to, you can go ahead and cover the bottom with your double-sided adhesive. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I have to get some more 1-inch double-sided tape because I like to use 1-inch on parts like this where they will cover a large area in a short amount of time. But this, or even adhesive glues, and I like to make sure I get right up under where those parts join. I may go over this area with a little bit of liquid glue as well when I get ready to put it down on my book, just for added security. But I believe this is plenty for this little mini brag book. You just want to make sure you get enough adhesive down so your book does not fall apart when somebody's looking at it or flipping through your pages. Alright, so I got the back covered. I'm just going to burnish it, and we're going to turn it over. And so here we have it. So right now what I'm going to do, if I have any tape hanging over, I'm just going to clip that off. Okay. Sometimes you get a little bit of the tape, especially me. Okay, so next what we want to go ahead and do is add adhesive on each side. Now, you don't want to do this if you're just using liquid glue. If you're just using liquid glue, you want to wait till it's time to actually add your pages in order to glue. But I like to go ahead and add my double-sided adhesive. And I'm just going to start by adding a strip of double-sided adhesive closest to the top of this little hinge piece, right? So closest to this area right here, closest to the edge without going over. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So So I'm just going to start at the top, and I probably should have put something in between there to keep me from, it's hard to see black on black. There you go. I'm going to do that to both sides of each piece. So let's see. I'm going to do it without making a mistake here, and without getting my head all in the way. Alrighty. And what you also want to do with these pieces is work them back and forth a little bit, and it just helps. So after you apply your pages to the hinges, they're ready. You know, those fibers have been worked a little, and so it's ready to move freely. And I'm hoping I allotted enough space in between each one of those to where my pages can lay down a little bit better. So we shall see. Alright, so now I'm going to go this way and add tape to the other side as well. Just like that. Again, I'm going to have to bring it down towards me a little bit more so I can see what I'm doing, but you see, you guys know what I'm trying to do here. We just want to add that adhesive closest to the edge of each one of those hinge pieces. Let's see. I'm sure this is probably going to be longer than an hour, because I believe we're already probably at 40 minutes. So just stick in there with me. I'm probably going to have to take a break and go reheat my coffee because I've just let it sit here. Alright. Again. Alright, so we got this part ready. Now we can go ahead and bring our cover back in. Okay, and this hinge part is going to sit right in between on top of our middle spine piece. Okay, and we have to try to line that up in the center as best as we can. So let's go ahead and take our adhesive off and lay this down. And the coffee's lukewarm. So once I get this, I'll pause, heat my coffee, and we'll keep going there. I'm just glad most of y'all don't mind sitting through a long video. And you know, if you do mind, you can definitely skip through. I don't mind. You can definitely skip through. Okay, so and I did write in my chalk marker on in between on here, but it's fine because I like to add decorative pieces in between each page, so it'll be covered. So alright, so I am going to attempt to make this even, and I'm just eyeballing it, and Sorry, I don't want to get my head in here, but I just want to make sure I have a little bit of evenness before I stick it down. It's done now. It's done. So you want to go in between and get that really pushed down. So that's that. So now what I like to do is take my bone folder or scoring tool, find where your original spacing was, and go ahead and just kind of run your bone folder across there. And this will also help, since you just added that extra layer from the binding piece, it'll help for your book to close. And just slowly go up with it. Okay, so just like that. And you want to do that on both sides. It's a little bit better for me to use my bone folder. Okay, and hold and fold up, fold up. Alrighty, so there we have that. Now I'm just going to take my ruler and measure out a couple of pieces so that I can go ahead and cover these inside pieces. Now if you want to go ahead and cover this inside part with your what am I trying to say, with your designer paper, you can definitely do that. And you can cover this with your designer paper that you're planning on using. But I'm going to go ahead and use a piece of cardstock to do that. And I've been using this one from Michaels. And this is the last sheet from this pack. So I'm just going to take my ruler and go ahead and cover this. So let's see. So that's 5.5, of course. So we're looking at 5.5 by 7.5, and I want to cut probably 2 pieces at 5.25 by 7.25. So I'm gonna get my paper cutter here, and I'm gonna cut 5.25, 7.25, and if I have to trim it a little bit, that's fine. 5.25, that's 7.25. Okay. If I have to break this up into 2 parts, I might do that, because it looks like I'm going to go over an hour on this, and I really don't want to go over an hour. So we'll go ahead and lay these pieces down, and they cover perfectly. We're going to lay these pieces down right here, and you guys can join me back for part 2 of this really easy mini album brag book. Alright, I'll see you guys in part 2.